and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension. It's me, your host, Maria, and with me today is my lovely co-host, Katie.
Yes, it is I. And don't forget the camera's right there, so like if you look up, it's like we're kind of like staring off into oblivion. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Today we are talking about I said Emily's already. I already messed it up. Emily Wilde's Compendium of
Lost Tales.
Yes, which I thought was Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Did you just get the title?
Yeah. I never acknowledged the title the whole time. I was just kind of like, oh, it's Emily Wilde. And so I didn't even read really the title, but that makes sense now. I get it. I get what it's referencing. Anyway, yes, today we are talking about Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by
Heather Fawcett.
Yeah, Heather Fawcett. Which every time we say her name, I think of what's the other one? The actress? That has like the same last name.
I don't know, Fawcett.
Or something similar. And I just think like glamorous golden age, which only helps it like create the vibe of this book. But anyway, yes. So that's what we're talking about today. And as we've already premised before giving an intro, as William so rudely put, Maria feels...
Wait, so really quick, how were we talking about the book before, and our feelings about it before I did the intro? It's because this is Patreon! Patreon thing. We were talking to our patrons. We started a live stream and we're talking to our patrons.
I understand.
I'm doing the thing,
yes.
But I'm doing it early, not at the very end of the video.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yes, we have a Patreon. You should join it. It's really great. You get super cool perks such as discussing books in a book club.
She did so good, everyone.
Okay.
There's 3 tiers.
Oh, no, I'm not doing this. You go.
There's 3 tiers. There's our basic tier, which is our Discord. You get to join cool, hot, sexy people. If you join it, you automatically become sexy. It's the rules. I don't make them up. It just is what it is. And
it's magic, just like in this book.
It's just like in this book. Also, the second tier is our book club. This is one of our book club live streams. Our other people in the Discord read it with us, and they gave us our feedback, and that's what we were talking about before this... Actually, the part you guys get to see started. This is our mid-month, which means we'll pick this book. It is the 3rd in a series that we liked before.
Be beautiful. Be sexy.
Thank you. Come join the Discord. And we also have our end of month where our book club members vote on what books we do. So that's really cool. And then our 3rd tier is our Parasocial Darlings. You get access to the critique streams.
And you magically get to smell good.
Beautiful.
When you
I don't know where Katie is pulling all of this shit from. Like, I feel like she just yanked out of like a bookshelves, man. These magical places. But anyway, in the Parasocial Darlings, you get access to our critique streams where Will and Katie look at books at a micro level, looking at actual writing on a sentence-by-sentence level and how that works. And they look at the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the sexy, and the not sexy. It's a good time. And then there's also...
we even once did a comparison of sex scenes and how one was really, really bad and one was less bad.
Yeah. And then there's also Katie's Fiction Corner, which will be starting up again more so in summer. Katie does a round table style writing workshop where people bring their writing, everybody in the group reads it, and then they talk about it and do it. So if you've ever done like a college creative writing course, very similar to that. It's a good time.
It's not consistent yet, so if you want to join just because of that, please don't do that.
Like I said, once summer starts and school is over... teacher, that will be kicking up again. So, prepare yourselves. Anyway,
huzzah!
We have a Patreon. Join it. If you don't want to join it, like, subscribe, comment.
Copy the link, but send if you don't have any friends to know
one. Like go to share video and hit copy link, and then you don't even have to do anything. You can just do that, and it'll make it think you liked it.
Yeah.
Especially because this video is the 3rd book in a series, so it's going to do terribly. It's not going to do well. We did this for us.
Shut up.
We did this for us. So help support us. Anyway, but in the discussion to before the video part that you guys get to see, we were talking about how a lot of our people in our Patreon, in the book club, weren't very happy. Like, it's not that they hated the book, but, you know, they were displeased with the way it kind of worked out. And a lot of, I think, our problems coming off of the end of the second book, and what I think was our, because if you remember our discussion, we specifically made some points about, you know, what we hadn't been wanting out of this series, and this book kind of just dives headfirst into that. I mentioned that Katie had said that that was fighting words because she had a great time with this book.
I did, but I also explained it's been a tough week for me, so this was a balm to my soul. It warmed the cockles of my heart. It soothed all the rough patches on my ire. It brought me down to a warm, cozy, comfy place. And I got to just jump into a story that I could not myself as a human in this world exist in. So it was very fun. It's really nice. To be honest, you know what it is? I also, what we discussed in the last video, part of it was that the first book had a lot of qualities that were very unique and really awesome and amazing. And as the books have progressed from sequel to finally this third installment, it's kind of unraveled from that tight structure that feels really good and kind of become messy in a lot of ways. But I think once we finished the last book, there's a part of me that had such low expectations for this book.
So you're
that honestly, I was fine. I really did. I went into this thinking it was going to be really bad, hoping for better, but expecting the worst. And honestly, when I read it, nothing offended me, really. I mean, I think I'm curious to hear the details that you and other people have shared of what you really disliked and why. But honestly, I just didn't care. I think I took out that part of me that had expectation, and I feel like there's a movie equivalent, but I can't think of one.
But also I completely get having, because one of the things you mentioned before was that this book, you knew going in nothing bad was actually going to happen, and that like there was going to be like, so if you're having a really bad week and things aren't going your way, being able to wrap yourself in the comfort of a book where you know everything's going to work out in the end. With characters, because like the characters are still the characters you like, and there are elements that are still the parts you like. So it's kind of like reading a fan fiction.
I was gonna say trashy fanfic.
This is the equivalent of a trashy fan. Honestly, it is.
I would not say trashy. The quality of the writing's way too good for that.
Yes, but it's like if you took the first book and you were like, wow, gee willikers, I wonder what would happen if they were a fairy king and queen. This would be the fan fiction you would read out of that, and you love the characters.
Literally everything turns out perfect, and it's like that. I don't think that doesn't follow the line of severity that some of the two previous books have had in regards to how things would work in this scenario.
For me, it's not even that. It's that the stakes are so much higher in this book.
Oh my god, so high!
Like, one of my problems is the first book had a really self-contained story and a small scope, and it was mainly focused on the characters, some growth and stuff like that. And then each book has kind of tried to be a little bit more epic in its scope, and now we're in like a literal kingdom-ending epic. And it's in a way where if you liked the smaller, cozier scale of the first book, then this is a direct, if you had said at the end of the first book, how would you like to see them become a king and queen of fairy?
We discussed this last time. You honestly should go watch the video, because I think both of them are really good discussions.
Yeah.
But that being said, we said that
that's just
nobody wanted that.
That's not, and from what I can see from our patrons who are in our book club, none of them wanted it either. This was not you don't finish the first book being like, yeah. In fact, I specifically think about how I expected it to go, and I'll talk about that a bit more towards the end. But because there's a character in the first book that you find out is a lost prince, an exiled prince of fairy. So he is not only a high fae, but he is fairy royalty, and the only thing between him and the throne is his evil stepmother who banished him. And so at some point he's gonna, but I don't know why I expected the kind of story where he goes to do it and then comes back and was like, that was really boring. I'm gonna stay here with you. I put somebody, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was going to be like something that happened.
Or better yet, it just never was a story.
Yeah.
Like if that was just his lore and we never even faced his stepmom, it was never a problem.
Yep. Or maybe like his stepmom gets in trouble and he has to go help save the realm, but he chooses not to overthrow her.
I don't even want that. Like, I just wanted it to be about Emily's research.
Yeah.
And them exploring
you really get
Carmen Sandiego.
Yes, you really get enchanted by the idea of a book series about a socially awkward academic going on these misadventures for her research, stumbling into little things and developing small like expanded relationships with the people and the fae that she deals with. And someone mentioned that this would have made a great serial. Where
I know, right?
Yes. And I think that a lot of my problems could have been fixed because you could have small stories that all connected. And, maybe sometimes...
We just wanted something else.
Yes. And it's one of those cases where this is what the author was working towards.
Oh, yeah. She was successful in that.
She did what she wanted to do, but unfortunately... And I also think... So the second book had a bit of a Nothing Burger vibe to it, where there are patches where you were like, what happened during that section? And this one has much more of like a plot. We have some comments.
Which one do you want?
Let's go to Lindbergh's.
All right. Lindbergh says,
you know what killed it a bit for me? The first book, the Fae felt strange and dangerous, brilliant and interesting, and here I never got that feeling. And it's because you're surrounded by them. It's like the magic. It's like in a horror movie after you.
I was just gonna say it's just like a horror movie where if you are shown the monster, it's less scary.
Yeah.
So
I even felt that way about the veil as a concept.
Oh yeah, I know. For real, that ruined it. I didn't even think about how. I didn't even get enough time to really chew on that fat of how much that ruined the mysterious, terrifying, eldritch vibe it had.
Unfortunately, I think that was Fawcett's goal.
No, it was her goal
because she literally. So there's this like eldritch horror realm called the Veil that all the Fae are scared of and only the royal Fae can open, and there's a point where our main character goes into it and then comes out of it and goes, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, she literally says that.
I would actually like to study that. Once you've got into it, it's just like any fairy realm. And I'm like, so first off, the scene happened and I was like, that wasn't my vibe out of it. That place did not seem like, but there's this idea that, leave no stone unturned in the academic quest. And I like that. And in a different story where the veil wasn't used as this, like,
eldritch horror.
As an eldritch horror to put kings and queens on thrones, it would have, like, if this had just been an academic book and she was like, why shouldn't we go explore that thing? That's a different story than what this is. But yeah, so I would say that of the three... In some ways, this is better than the second one. So the second one, I think, is my least favorite in a lot of ways because it felt like a rehash of the first one. It was a little nothing burgery, and at least this one stuff was happening.
Yeah.
It was not a direction I wanted this story to go. Also, you tell me if this was your experience. I felt like Wendell was a bit of a sword boy prop in this book a little bit. Like, we didn't actually get a lot of Wendell.
We got more Wendell than the last book.
We did get more Wendell than the last book, but he felt like for the first third, he just felt like a guy with a sword who like hit stuff.
So what you're saying is that there was not enough meaty dialogue and presence from him. I would agree.
He was there, but he was kind of like figurehead Wendell.
I understand what you're saying. You got Prince Wendell. You didn't get
and it was only towards the end when he was like having panic attacks and like panic cleaning the castle.
Yeah, I understand your vision. Yeah, no, you did not get Wendell then in that regard.
Yeah. So we have some comments. For me, the first two books set up a certain type of expectation because the plot was brushed off immediately in both of them. Here, it tried to take center stage, and I just wasn't with it.
I also agree with that. It's like, it just... what's funny is the plot with Stepmom actually feels like a thorn in my shoe.
Yes.
When it comes to enjoying the walk this book was presenting to me.
Yes. Also, Thea just made the best comment. How has Katie still not learned the Patreon tiers? I know them by heart. Thea.
I don't know. I have like a mental block.
So, Chris M says, I wanted the romance, I wanted the established relationship part, not being king and queen, and I'll say they didn't even do the king and queen bit enough.
No, they didn't. I would agree.
And then Lindbergh says, to me, Snowbell and the Angry Cat were the best part of this book because they were still that bit of strange, interesting, and unsavory.
Yes, agreed.
And then Chris M, Bamblebee was just decor in the third book.
I know. Why did Wendell
become such a slipper?
A common slipper, cozy, convenient, but you wouldn't wear it out.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Shame. Wait a second, what does that say? Bookish channel, Patreon. Oh, wait, Thea's bookish channel. Patreon tears are the realm of will, cold, unemotional, analytical things that to know them chills the trashy book empathy. That's the vibe, though, right? No, but, I'm just about to knock over my fan. Hold on a second. Okay. No, I see what you're saying. For full disclosure, I finished the book 5 minutes before we popped on here. So I really haven't had and she also, I think. I really haven't had time. Well, I also read it in the span of 48 hours.
Yeah, I would have finished it earlier, but then I got distracted and was hanging out with my boyfriend for like an hour this morning. Like, I would have finished it a bit ago. I also started it before you, so I've had time to digest it.
Yeah,
Katie read it in like a 48-hour.
So to be fair, like now that you're like kind of mentioning it, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually upset that we didn't get more of him. Like, obviously I don't need him cleaning a bunch, but what I mean is more qualities like that. And like the scene in the first book where he hid himself with by taking off his high fae guys and being the brownie, the Iashid of himself, like those scenes where you get like kind of like the grit of him, I guess. You did not get that here.
It is crazy to me that poignant of a scene was in the first book. That Wendell, a guy obsessed with his...
He was more solid. He's like a ghost in this.
Yes. He's there, and he still has times where he's like, you academics will be the death of me. Or he's like, he gets anxious and he has to like clean or like stitch. But we don't even see that. We get told about those scenes from someone else who saw it happen.
And you're like, when he gets angry too, that she's gone off with the Winter King, and he throws the teacup and it turns into a whole bunch of like leaves or something. Mm-hmm. We don't get anything like that colors him in.
Yep. He was way more solid and like the best characterization of Wendell was the first book, and what it feels like is we have just been living off of that character, and that's why
we've been huffing the fumes of that.
That's why it's a fanfic. It feels like all this book had to do was stay in characterization with what was established in the first book. You know, like when you start a fan fiction, you just have to make sure the character speaks the same way, does a couple of things where the characters are like, there's them doing that thing we love.
So I was always scared of that in my fan fiction for, the Frost Iron. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Actually, I'm curious. I'm forgetting oh my god, I'm forgetting your name, your username. You know who you are.
Once she explains what she's thinking, know.
I'm just really...
I'll open the door.
Sorry, guys. No, this is actually going to kill me. Hold on a second. I'll just open up Discord real quick. Discord here. Ezra. My god, that killed me. Anyway... Ezra, you tell me someplace. Let me know. Did Tony Stark and Loki feel that way for you, where they were just doing that speaking thing, or did it actually seem real? I'm so curious. Anyway.
No, because that's the thing, is that's what makes a truly good fan fiction versus just a comfort, read, I just need to read something. Different, because, a really good fan fiction takes the character you've seen, but adds more to them. It adds nuance. Yes. It adds nuance. It adds character development. It adds more to them in a way where they develop as the story develops, because that should be what's happening. And I think this book tries to develop Wendell as a character.
No, I don't think so. I just think she's painting a different picture of him. That's different.
And it doesn't succeed. So overall, I would say mixed. The first book in this series was very excellent and by far my subjective favorite. I would say that this one objectively I think is a better book than the second one.
By far. The second one was this is by far. Yeah,
Yes.
By far.
Compared...
What I was going to say, I'm sorry. Wait,
No problem.
do you want to finish?
No, you go.
All I wanted to say from before when the dogs were barking was that the thing is I really think it all comes down to what you said before, which is that the first book had a clean plot. It was tidy and it was focused. And because it was tidy, small, and focused, really, the author had plenty of time and plenty of space to fill it in with character development. And so in these next two books, the sequel and this one, she filled it with so many plot pieces.
In the second book, a lot of characters.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing, is we specifically said last book was the too many things but too many characters, and that's because, like, it took... Anyway, you go watch it. Point being, though, is in this one it was too many plot pieces. Because there aren't I think there's a fair amount of characters here. I don't think anybody's out of place in particular. I mean, maybe if we really analyzed it, we could pick somebody to take out or something like that. Actually, you know what? I completely take all of that back. The princess.
Yeah.
The princess was completely worthless. When we get into the book,
I was so hoping for her to come into, like, a...
Play? Yeah, she was annoying, and she just took up space. Yeah. I mean, I really just don't know. Do you want me to bring Chris M's?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris M says...
It felt like Wendell, was an accessory to Emily, and it was an accessory, and Emily steadily turned into a wish fulfillment for the author.
Yeah.
Her flaws got minimized, her love interest faded into the background, and she really, like, gets to, like, do some cool shit. And not that I would have minded that on its own, but it's just within the context of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what does Lindbergh say? This book was better structured than book 2. If you look at the overall structure, the threads all lead somewhere and tie up somewhat nicely, but I miss the characters from book 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
We get much less
character tension.
Moment. Yeah, the character-to-character tension was mostly missing from this book for me, and part of it is there's no tension between Wendell and Emily. There is tension on Wendell's side because he is a little potato, but we don't get to see it nor feel it. Emily is always very secure in Wendell, in her relationship. Like, that's not the tension. There's a point at the beginning of the book where she makes a note that Ferris Rose sees her as a greater friend than that she struggles knowing where to place people and stuff. And I really wish that had come into play more. That
you mean that we saw more stage time for him?
Not even that, but learning that, you know, that the people around her are going to, that she's gathered through all of
that message has been lost throughout the books,
are going to come together. And she tries to do it a little bit at the end where, like, Lilia and Margaret are helping her solve the problem, but I would have preferred them and Ferris and Ariadne.
They faded in this book. They come up at one point as, like, a device in the book, but also it feels natural in a way. It's because it actually does add to the characters' relationships, so it feels really solid. But then they also just puff up in smoke and never appear again until the end.
Yeah, and I just, because I thought the book was going to say something about how Emily, as much as she can now establish good relationships, sometimes she, like, out of sight, out of mind some, which is something that a lot of, like, some neurodivergent people struggle with, where, like, they can really love someone, but if the person's not, like, right in front of them, like, they kind of forget that they exist. And then, you know, realizing you don't have to do things on your own. And there's one point where she's like, oh wow, I didn't have to do that, but it happened, like, in the first third of the book, and I'm like, wow, that would have been a really great revelation for the end of the book as far as character development goes and stuff like that. But it just,
that's neither here nor there for me.
This book just, it was missing the soul of the first one in a lot of ways. And I think Katie's completely correct because it had a much narrower scope. The characters,
all the elements of the novel, the characters, the plot, the pacing, the narration, the world building, all that was very evenly balanced.
And had room to breathe. It really did. And here, there is not a lot of breathing room. The plot hits the ground running, so it's to the point where the characters, like, they are themselves, but they're, like popping in and out of scenes. It's like Emily is running through the plot, you know? Like she's figure skating, and you see them, like, come up on the side, and they're like, hi, Emily! And then she's, like, going, and then she's doing laps, so they sometimes repeat.
Oh my God, for the metaphor.
You're welcome.
Anyway, so that is actually kind of what it feels like. So yeah, anyway, I think that's a good summary of that. Let's rate the book real quick out of 10 for consistency, because I liked that part of the structure of our last recording. And then let's begin the plot retelling. Yeah?
Yeah.
What would you give this book out of a 10, Maria?
Oof.
It's hard because it's enjoyable.
It is. I would say, like, a 7?
Okay, well, so to help you put it in mind, compare this book to the one we did before, the
Starling House?
Yes.
I mean, it's better than Starling House.
Isn't that a crazy, even though that's more, no, it's not. Never mind, I take that back.
What?
Yeah, it's not, I was going to say it's, like, cleaner, but I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's better in the, like, it was still more enjoyable than that.
I think I'd give it an 8.
Wow,
because we have Starling House a 7.
No, I gave Starling House a 6 between a 6 and a 6.5. You gave it a 7.
Oh, okay. So then you would give this a 7.
Yes, I'm giving
on
this
that
a 7.
train. I would give it a 7.
Yes, I'm giving this a 7.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree with that.
If the first one for me subjectively was a 10 and objectively was a
that's
9,
a good comparison.
Then this is the 7. And weirdly enough, I think
3 points deducted.
Yes. And weirdly
3
enough,
books in.
Yeah.
1 point.
But the thing is, I think I'd say the second book was a 6.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I know.
like, I think in some ways this is better as a book than the second book was. The second book was, like, more tedious to get through at some points. It had more, like, character stuff, but less Wendell and yet more. I don't know. The second book in retrospect is just my least favorite at the bottom.
Yeah.
So
okay,
yeah,
so 7.
I would give this one a 7.
All right, guys. Same time. Say it at the same time. We gave this book a 7.
Wow.
So YouTube.
We've become one of those. So a couple of comments before we get into the plot. I agree with Lindbergh. Objectively, it's supposed to be better, but it doesn't deliver on the expectations it's set up. It's still a good book. I gave it 4 stars, but just not it. It didn't elicit squee reactions I got reading the first book.
Yeah.
It does not. Lindbergh says, I only got 1 laugh out of this because the funny bits for me is where strangeness happens and things go wrong and people are dumb and weird, and there just wasn't enough of that here.
Do you remember what point it was at? I'm so curious.
Yeah, what
Lindbergh.
point was that, Lindbergh? I'd love to know. And then we have Dragon Slayer, slowly but surely establishing the official UTT numerical rating scale.
Exactly. It was the same monotone and everything, but for the soulless YouTubers that schlop material on YouTube.
Yeah. But yeah, let's 32 minutes in. Let's get into it, shall we?
Yes.
So this book picks up immediately where the last book left off.
Oh, welcome, Noemi. Please enjoy.
We're happy to have you with us. But yeah, this book picks up immediately where the last one left off. Last time we were in Greece on an island getting ready to go through the magic door that would lead them
in an epic parade of new allies that
were all common fae.
Yeah.
And you know, they were like, wow, we'll use the common fae to get the realm back, you know, in case your stepmother. So brief summary of what happened at the end of the last book. Emily, to save Wendell's life from this poison, his stepmother had infected him with had to go into the Silver Loopy realm, his realm, and rescue and get his cat. And his cat was going to chase the poison out of his blood. We still don't know how or why that worked. And in retrospect, I hate it even more now.
I'm not gonna,
because why couldn't the cat
no.
just do it here? Why couldn't he just be like, ooh, I solved the problems? But anyway,
we will not open that can of worms because that was my biggest gripe on the last one.
It's a terrible, what a terrible conflict resolution. Sometimes this book is really like, oh, we have a conflict, we need to clean it up, and then I would have preferred if they had to go to a weird mountain and get a specific flower that he had to brew into a tea, you know? The fact that the cat was just like, scratch the poison out of you is just...
I thought I said we're closing this. I'm sorry. Have you noticed me staring out into the distance? Just trying to dissociate from this conversation. I'm just like, please, I can't, because once I get started, I won't shut up about how much I hate it.
Anyway, okay, so continuing. In going into the Silver Loopy realm to get said cat, she had an interaction with Wendell's stepmother, the queen of the realm.
Half mortal, half fae.
Half mortal, half fae. So she, breaks some of the molds of the fairy stories that kind of dictate the rules of their land. Anyway, she poisoned the queen and then dipped out with the cat. And now they're going back into his realm, and they're like, we don't know if she's alive, we don't know if she's dead, we know that shit's not great there. His stepmother, prior to her poisoning, had been conquering neighboring lands, which had caused a lot of unrest.
One plot piece that's never resolved.
Yeah.
Because that comes up several times.
Yep. Especially after the book is resolved and they could go back. But anyway, and so they just know there's a lot of unrest, so they don't know what they're going to find. And at the end of the last book, Emily's like, wow, the common fae are really great, Wendell. You need to stop discounting their usefulness and their importance. We should get an army of them to help us take back your kingdom. And so they get, like, the Volksberger, the Fox guys from...
My least favorite fae in this entire series. I don't know why, I just don't like it very much.
Yeah. They get a bunch of those guys. They get the tree fawns, who are terrifying and weird. And then they get some trolls and the guardians, the royal guardians.
The owl spiders.
The owl spiders. And they're like, we're marching in. And that's where the last book ended. Like, they were in Greece, ready to go. Because that's where the door that led... There's like a house-moving castle door, and one of the places it opened up to was Greece, and it got closed.
That's called an illusion.
Yes. It was closed in where they were previously, so they had to come to Greece so they could get back in. So they get there, they go to the door, they open it. Oh, wow, we're in the land. Wendell's like, wow.
I did like this part because Wendell really felt like he took center stage in this moment, because we really do get just Emily observing him, and he's kind of like in awe, and I was sold on that. I really felt like this character was in awe of finally being able to return to someplace he had longed to go back to for a very long time and thought he would never see again. And so it's really nice. And I also I loved the beginning, honestly, because all the other fae that were following them come through and disperse in different ways, but they're still following them along. And as they are going, they're heading towards the castle. Well, at least Emily thinks so, except for Wendell doesn't actually know the way.
He's never really gone this far out, and he's like, he'll get there. He'll get there, and he's not worried about it. She is, and then they end up
which is really cute, though.
Yeah,
it's really cute that,
and it's Wendell. That matches his vibes to a T. He's just happy to be home, and yes, Linda I know. I was so confused with this army. Why did we do that? For no reason.
No reason. They literally were never used.
No, it doesn't come up. Anyway, but so they end up stumbling on a battleground where one of those.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, okay, I'm telling you, it's not. By the time we finish this, the 7 might be generous. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, continuing on.
Anyway, so they stumble upon a battleground, right? And they're like, oh my god, this is where, like, people were slain, where the kingdoms that the queen, the poisoned queen, had been attacking are now invading. So, like, the people they invaded are now invaders to them. And they're doing hacking battles. And they're looking around and they're like, wow, what's happening here? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes, Taryn.
Actually, we do get this really small part real quick before Taryn takes scene. They see the battlegrounds, they're like, wow, this is horrific. And then they keep going. And Wendell ends up going ahead of Emily for whatever reason. And Emily's staying... Oh, it's because of Shadow, I think. I don't remember. The dog that we care about a lot in this. So anyway... that's when Taryn comes along and Emily's by herself and she's like, oh my god, he looks terrifying, because like he's basically I'm picturing a Dark Knight.
Yeah. Like
Royben almost, yes. But not with silver hair, with black hair. And Royben is...
And he's also bloody.
Yes.
With a giant sword.
And he has a giant sword. Actually a little berserkery.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that's almost the vibe. Maybe a mix between Griffith and like Guts and like... but pretty dark.
With Royben.
Yeah, exactly.
For color.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point being, though, is that he comes out, and I really did like this. I just love it so much when she does it. I wish it kind of happened more often, or maybe not, then it would be annoying. But he's like, I'm here to, see my nephew.
No, at first he's just like, oh, there you are.
Yes.
Like he just... Or he's like, you're here again? Like they just spoke. Like, yeah. He saw her 2 minutes ago, and it's... Every once in a while, she gives Taryn good lines like that, where you understand that he is very
ancient.
Old, very ancient.
Because he's like, oh, there you are. And then she's like, and he said it like as if we were just out to tea and I walked away for a moment.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he's there and he's like, my nephew would come out if you just merely spoke his name. And she's just like, Wendell!
And he just pops out. He's like, yeah?
I love it. I love it, though. I love that all she has to do is speak his name and he'll appear, basically.
Yeah. Wendell be smitten. Like,
I love Wendell so much. I want a doll of him, actually. I kind of want a doll. I kind of want an anime Bishoujo.
You know like, what Wendell is like? Wendell is like...
Yes, I know.
It's like...
I know.
Was this a Howl's Moving Castle fan fiction at some point?
Oh my...
Because it's like if Howl was...
nice.
Like, more nice, and you got more... Because there is that, like, creepy danger to Howl as a character, but there's also that, like, I made this for you, and I redid the house, and how does it look?
Yeah.
And there's this, like, manic and, like, the wanting to look good part, but we also added it as if he was the one that liked to clean.
Maybe it was. And maybe once upon a time, she was a Sophie, and that's why she's mousy looking.
Yeah, except this one doesn't like to clean, because we're breaking some stairs. Like, I don't know, but there are moments where he's and like,
that combined with the doorknob thing really is actually
it's like Howl 2.0,
better Howl, honestly.
Yeah,
because I hate Howl.
Yeah,
I don't like him.
Yeah, it's like if you took all the bits of Howl and you just like amped him up a bit and made him better.
But anyway, so he comes out and please.
So Taryn is like, oh well, you're here to be king, I guess, but, I made a promise to your father, that...
Or is it grandfather?
No, it's to his dad, that... Because his older brother, Wendell's older brother, was not the greatest, like, prince. And nobody was impressed with him,
and he was supposed to be heir.
And he was supposed to be heir, and... Wendell's dad was like, hey, can you do me a favor and make sure that whoever takes over after me is stronger than I am? And Taryn was like, do it to it. You got it, buddy. And so since then...
It's a vow, so he can't break that vow or he would submit to death.
And yeah, he literally would die. And so, the thing is, he mentions that the same thing happened with his sister when his sister took over, but she was stronger than your father in different ways he mentions in this story. Because with the, you know, like, that's part of what
she, like, outsmarted him in some way or something like that.
And the idea is, like, you know, she was smarter than the previous king. And so they go to have a fight. Like, they're going to battle. And Wendell in the second and first book is described as, like, excellente swords person. But Taran was the general of... Not even his...
He's older than this realm.
Yes.
He is older than literally, like... I'm so sorry, everyone.
My boy. My baby boy. Anyway, he was the head general. He was such a good fighter. He was the...
Here, you continue. I'm going to bring them outside. It's because they're being buttholes.
Okay.
Guys, we're literally trying to do something.
This is the part of the video where Katie goes away and leaves me by myself.
Yeah,
hopefully
it happens at least once every single thing.
Yeah.
Guys, can you stop? Come on. Let's go.
Go with mom. But yeah, so he was so good and powerful and cool that he was the... I can just hear them sliding down the stairs. It's hysterical. But he was the head of the previous 2 monarchs before Wendell's dad, head of their armies and stuff like that. So, like, he's good. He's too good for Wendell. A fight ensues. At first, Wendell is giving and going, but then Taran is like... Taran is... I said Taran, like, this was a freaking dragon from Fourth Wing. No. Taran, is, like, gonna kill him. And then at the last minute, Wendell's like, Emily, your cloak! And I basically, like, throws the cloak out and shows that, like, a piece of the veil has been sewed into it. And he's like, you see, I am stronger at than my father at sewing. And it's, like, one of the only decent, like, it's such a good moment as far as who Wendell is as a character. Because, like, you don't want Wendell. Like, Wendell should not be a strong sword boy. Like, that's not why we love him. And it is a moment where he wanted to fight his uncle for the fun of it, because Taran is his uncle. Like, he wanted to do it for the funsies, but he also knew the whole time that the way he was going to prove that he was stronger than his father was through his sewing. And it's such a nice nod to the fact that he is a 4th Ehashid, and which is a brownie kind of house elf. Not house elf, house fae that, like, takes care of and cleans and sews and tailors. No. I'm talking about how he, like, whipped out the cloak and was like, see, I'm a stronger... I'm my stitching is better than my father's. And his uncle's like, fair the fuck enough. You get to be king now. Again, I will not stand in your way.
Refreshing moment. Everyone, have a Coca-Cola.
It's a Sprite.
That's not how the ad goes.
Oh. Sorry.
I don't know. Coke is more popular than Sprite. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
But yeah, so, he knew it the whole time, and it's one of those moments where, like, I wish we would have just started with this instead
We did not need the big badass fight, honestly.
Yeah, we didn't.
However, and also because Wendell had already figured out how to beat him.
Yes, that's what I said. From the beginning.
Like, it says that. Now, if he didn't figure that out, I'd be okay with the fight, honestly.
And again, it's sold as he enjoys a good challenging fight, and it's been a while since he had a challenging one.
That sounds so anime.
It is, and I just don't like Wendell as a sword boy. Like, I like the idea of he knows how to do it, he'll do it when he needs to, but it's not like his preferred form of entertainment. Like, that's not where he gets his shit, because at the end of it, he's like, we should do it again, Uncle. And
yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, though, is that you never, that's not really in accordance
with anything we've seen of Wendell ever. He's never like, wow, I could really use a good fight.
Nor do we get, like, him practicing in the morning or something, so it doesn't really sell itself. I don't really have a problem with him liking swordplay. It's because it's very, like, kind of princey of him, and so that kind of builds towards that persona. However, that being said, I like it less because I don't need my male protagonist to be a badass like that.
But also for me, I much prefer the idea of him as the terrible prince. Like, when he was young, everybody was like, wow, what a failure of a prince. He just likes to party.
No, but I like that he knows how to fight. I do. I just wish he wasn't the biggest badass of a swordsman ever.
I would prefer that, even that he's decent at fighting and he can deal with most foes, but he just doesn't get enjoyment out of it. It's a thing he does out of necessity. It was like the skill was pounded into his brain when he was younger, but it's not something he loved.
Wait a second. So I just want to real quick. UTT showing its closeness to Georgia. Everything is a Coke. I'm sorry. Did I not say pop or cola the way I was supposed to? Anyway.
But yeah, so I would prefer he just be a reluctant swordsman, and who did it when he had to, but like avoided it, like especially because it's a lot of exertion, and
he doesn't like exerting himself.
He doesn't, and so I don't know why he's like, we should do this again, Uncle. Like,
so that's why
there's a point
it doesn't sell itself to me.
It's terrible. I hate it as a plot line, and it goes against my, like, what image. I love.
No, well, it's not even that. It goes against her own image of his character because it goes against what it says he doesn't like / likes.
Indeed.
So the thing is it's... Sorry, I got confused. It's fine. That could be fine. It's not the thing in the essence of itself that we're disagreeing with. It's that literally Fawcett writes him in a way that it doesn't support that side very well, so it feels fake.
And the things we love about him it doesn't align with this.
But
anyway, so he wins, and they're like, okay, and Taryn's like, I'll help you get to the castle now. And they go to the castle, and everybody's out there, and they're like, oh, the king's back, and he kind of takes over, and then...
No. My least favorite scene is this scene,
okay,
so I'm going to describe it.
You can.
So we get this... That is not exactly. She literally skipped over like a good section that we get that describes the preamble to this, which is this. They need to, they talk about the idea that, people will fight you for that throne. And then, of course, Emily's like, no, not so much fight or try to kill you, but probably plot behind your back and try to poison you or something like that, or stab you from behind. And so she's like, so we need to scare them, they're both kind of like on the same, like, mindset of we need to put fear / awe into them so that way they are like, oh my gosh, it's the king. And so to do that, they're not sure how to best approach it because Fae are pretty like, hard to impress. And so she's like, Wendell, and this is better use of Wendell. In order to do this, he makes really badass clothes. So which I did like. Again, I like the beginning quite a bit.
And that's why I have to be closer to Mike. And that's why I liked when he was like, see, my stitching's better than I thought. Like, that part, love that part. The fact that they go in and they make their entrance.
Okay. So what he does is he sews makes her cloak a little nicer, and she has stars sewn in, which I did think was cool, but dumb.
Alice Moving Castle.
Yeah. He sewed literal a reflection. It's actually very pretty the way it's described. I liked this. I wish we actually had quite a bit more of this in different unique areas, because this really showed Fawcett's I think creativity when it comes to Fae stuff. But anyway, he ends up getting a reflection of the stars in the sky, and literally it's like the stars in the sky, and he puts them, sews them, whatever, into the hood of her cloak, so that way there's like a shooting star every now and again, and it's pretty cool, like, visually. But anyway, she has a really cool badass outfit. He has a really cool badass outfit, and he even, like, I loved this. It's some type of creature that he's actually sewn into, like, the underside shadow of his cloak, and Emily describes it as growling and puttering, and it's very off-putting, and it actually ate a few of the Volksburger or whatever. The little, like, foxes. It actually ate a few of them, and he had to tell it to stop. And I love that Emily's like, and I didn't know what it was, so I asked him, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what it is either. I found it in the hollow of a stump. And I'm like, oh my god, that's great. And so anyway, he took whatever the creature is, but so it's like a little intimidating. So basically, they look really studded out, and then they make their entrance. And when they make their entrance, they also have their cool army behind them, and they're like slow mo. Walking into the castle setting, and then there's a crowd, and some of the fairies are selling peanuts. I mean, not peanuts, it's roasted nuts or whatever.
Of some sort. And there's just a ton of fairies around. Like, there's a cohort, and some are, like, happy, and some are crying, and some are, like, scared, and some are...
And it's just kind of dumb, honestly.
And,
it's
like,
so overdramatic.
But it's also, that's it. That's all that happens. No, there's no battle. There's no... anything like
the army immediately disperses and his uncle comes out with his human lover and it was like, yo, here's a mirror, smash all the mirrors in the thing because that's our tradition when a new monarch takes over.
Yeah.
And it happens and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. And,
that's all that happens.
Now they're the king and queen of fairy and they go to his chambers and she wakes up the next day and she's in...
They had sex.
They had sex. They wake up the next day. What a note. They really needed that.
I didn't mind. That.
Yeah, like they
no,
our viewers.
No, we do get quite a number of sex scenes, but they're very, very tasteful, and I love it.
I wouldn't say they're sex scenes so much as they're like...
Fade to black. Wait, what did I call it?
The elegant in and out. This is even not even the elegant in and out. This is just like where one of them is like, you want a little, and then they're like, yeah, maybe. And then it's like, the next day, he did a good job. Like, that's it. Is it not? Is it not? That's what happens.
That's the tone, the succinctness with which it's kind of delivered.
Yes. Anyway, so the next morning, she's like, wow, he took his old...
sweat. I'm dewy.
You're welcome. Because it makes your skin glowy, and then I realized how it sounded, and I regretted it. Anyway, like a lot of people buy like creams and stuff to make their skin look dewy and glossy.
I don't want to look sweaty. I hate it when
continuing. And she's like, he took his old rooms from when he was a prince instead of the like king rooms. But and she's also walking around, and she finds like a room with a bunch of journals, and there are like fairies making journals. She stumbles into the dining room, and she's having all of these interactions with the small fae. That she doesn't know how to interact with, but also she realizes Wendell's been busy. Like there's a room filled with journals, and these like little guys are like, "We made these for you," and she's like, "The fuck when?"
Yeah.
We got here last night.
That's cute.
Yeah,
actually.
And then she opens a door. Like these kind of small moments, I don't mind.
Again, the beginning was the best part of this book.
And she opens a door, and there's like it's a cottage to somewhere else, and she's like, the fuck is that? And then she ends up going to have breakfast, and when she goes to breakfast, there is a human there who is blind. Her name is Neve, and she is part of this, has been part of this court. She was the head advisor, it's called the scribe position, for Wendell's father, because she was smart, and it turns out she is actually a long-lost professor of Dryadology who disappeared years ago and is actually a very close friend with Ferris Rose, the head of Cambridge's Dryadology department, who was a prominent figure in the last book. But anyway, and her and Neve kind of talk, and Neve's like, yeah, Wendell, when he was young, stuff like that, but they call him Lith.
I love that name, by the way, for him. I don't know why, but that matches him so perfectly.
But I also love that he's like, yeah, still Wendell, and she never changes how she refers to him, which I like. But anyway, and then Wendell rocks up and he's like, Neve, oh, that's so great. Because like,
long time no see, I'm glad to see you're still alive.
Yes, he grew up with her, and he's like, so are you here to ask to be my scribe? You're hired, you got the job. And Neve's like, was I so obvious? And it helps to have Neve around to help Emily feel like a little more grounded, and she starts talking about like some of her ideas that she wants to do. And so they have to assemble a court, and they also realize very quickly that his stepmother did not, she's gone, but she's not gone. She's hidden somewhere, and she has cursed the land.
Yeah, so basically what it is this. The poison that Emily had poisoned the wine cup with in order to kill the queen, actually, it had affected, it came from a faun's horn, and she remembers and relates that the faun's horn had scabs and oozing, and it looked like sickly on the phones. And so similarly, when they're told about the rotting decay of the blight that is hitting parts of different forest pieces, that is from the queen's curse.
Yeah, she basically made herself part of the land and gave her poison to the land.
As a monarch, she is of the land, and the land is of her. So since she was poisoned by Emily, technically Emily poisoned the land.
Well, no, but the queen specifically chose to do this.
Oh, yes, yes,
It's
for sure.
not, it wasn't something that was happening, but when she ran away to hide, she specifically started poisoning the realm, and they were like, we got to figure that out. They also have to choose a new council, and it's so funny because they have all this stuff to do, and Wendell's like, I wanted to take her on a picnic.
I know. That's how he says it.
Yeah, he's like, I planned a picnic, and they're like, you can't go on a freaking picnic, my boy. Like, you got shit to do, and she's like, okay.
I love how as soon as he gets in there, he's just like, but I thought we were gonna do safari.
Yeah,
we were going to tour.
Yeah, we were going on a royal tour, and because the other thing is, there's a ton of Fae.
Such a I love him so much.
Yes,
I'm actually. So it's been a really long time since I've fallen in love with a male character, and I have to say, I think this is I'm in love with Wendell Bamblebee. I genuinely would like, I don't want fan art. I would like a figurine of him. I want a doll, a little doll. And I want to rewrite the story. Yeah. So that way it's cleaner and more epic, and there's in a different way.
And there's more Wendell, because we had a lot of these moments now, and we're going to get
more Wendell. Wendell's almost, like, I don't want to say he's better than Emily, but he is. I love personally.
Wendell. He's great. But there's the other thing that they have to do on top of the council dealing with the blight and him wanting to do a picnic is there's a ton of Fae that have gathered in this courtyard where they're supposed to do audiences, and so he has to go and like hear their grievances. A bunch of people want to like challenge him for the throne and fight him. There's this Raven lady who I thought was going to come up in a more specific way, but she doesn't. But there's this lady, and
she's really cool though.
Yeah, she's got like feathers in her hair and stuff, and she like fights Wendell, and then he kills her, and then she turns into a raven, and he's like, yeah, my dad cursed her.
My grandfather, because she's done it to multiple generations.
Yeah. So one of his ancestors cursed her, and that basically she will be freed when she kills one of his line. And it just hasn't happened. And every time...
I kind of liked how it was thrown away a little bit. I kind of wish she came in as a bird. But the thing is like, she would have been useless in this plot.
Yeah. Again... I don't
I just
love
like shook the whole
you
thing.
You really did. But anyway, so a bunch of stuff is happening, and then like eventually they get bored and they're tired and they're like, let's go do other stuff. They have a little night picnic, and then at some they look at like options for court stuff, like who's going to be part of their council. Not a lot of great options. Councils don't work well in Fae.
One, I'll mention two particular members. One gets immediately thrown away, and the other one stays a little longer. One is the Lady of the East Wind, who ends up being a spy, so she gets ousted. She kind of seemed cool when she was introduced. And then there's another lady who like leaves blood wherever she goes, and she has like a red cloak, and she's got blonde hair and red tips, and so she's like bloody.
And if she touches you, she leaves like a handprint of blood. Like she's just
pretty cool. She's
damp.
like murder. She's murder. She's damp.
She is. That's all I could think of. God, you're never dry. Nothing is ever dry. Everything is damp, and blood is sticky at a certain point when it's wet. Like, this is a nightmare.
From my understanding, she's murder, basically, right? Wasn't she basically just like a murder incarnate?
I don't think that was necessarily the intention, but she definitely was in love with murder. Yeah,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, and during this time, we know that the Lady of the East Wind, or whatever, is a spy, because what happens is Emily requests the Yashid that is in charge of housekeeping to ask him if he would basically be her confidant. And he's cool. He's like described as this. I really liked his description. It was like this gray, like shades of gray, where he could just easily blend into the background. And he has a rag that he kind of like thumbs on his belt. And he's like an older looking creature, and he calls Wendell one of their own because he's Iashid from the blood, his grandmother and mother's side. And so, anyway, it's cool because the Ishid is just like, oh yeah, no, like here's all the information you want.
Yeah.
And he's just like very like, sort of somber, sort of like very laconic, but just like, he's like, yes, I will serve because he's of us. And so anyway, matter of fact, I really liked. Anyway, so he says this, and then so she's like, Wendell, you have to get rid of these people. And he's like, ah, dang it, this is so troublesome.
Yeah. Damn it,
It's just a series of like little tasks, side quests, that happens. What they figure out is this. Wendell introduces her to a fairy door that goes into the hinterlands, sort of Ireland. And there's this cabin out there.
Wait. There's another thing she discovers from the Ihashid that's important.
Oh, okay.
Wendell's stepsister from his half sister from the stepmother that did all this stuff was plotting his death, and there is like an assassination attempt on him, and it was her, so they like throw her in a dungeon.
Yeah.
And then he shows that door we talked about earlier, where she opened it and there was a cottage on the other side, is what Katie's talking about, is this gift that Wendell gives her.
Which is really, 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 really sweet. It's because there's this kind of this air up until this point, a little bit, especially once Wendell is on like castle grounds, that he might lose himself or become different a little bit, and or there's also this subtext of Emily's worried that he will change. And she's not really worried that he'll lose his love for her, but that it might become different because of...
He will become different?
Yes. And it's just really sweet in this moment because it's like, oh no, he's thinking of her quite a bit, and he's not.
She's also just exhausted. Being in fairy is very exhausting, and so he's like, here, I give you a human respite where you can go to. Also, there's a surprise. Go hang out. And then she goes, and it's Lilia and Margaret from the first book. And they're like, oh, Emily. And she's like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And they were like, Wendell gave us a vacation. We didn't have a honeymoon.
I have a supposition.
Yes?
I say get rid of Lilia and Margaret. Mm-hmm. And instead make it Ferris and Ariadne, and they're there and they're staying there because they're going to Trinity College later on. When Emily goes to Trinity College to do some research, she sees them there, and it turns out that they went there to go help her because they read her note. I think it would have made sense to me personally that they would have taken center screen in this.
So I understand wanting to wrap back to stuff that happened in the first book, especially because Lilia and Margaret were so established. Yeah. This is one of those things. It feels a
little out of place.
The problem is, what she's trying to do is capture some of that magic of the small moments between characters in a plot that is way too busy and focused on other stuff. So this cottage is kind of like forced respite, forced little character moments.
I just didn't want the cottage at all.
Yeah, I would have preferred it to be something that happened at the very end of the book.
It felt like eating, what was it? Getting your cake and eating it too?
Yeah.
Too quick.
Yeah, and it just... But anyway, one of the things that happens... So she has a nice time, she goes back, and one of the things she realizes that they have to do is the first thing they need to do, because she's had some time to think, is they need to go investigate the Blight. This is the biggest threat to their realm, and also he wants her to bring his sister, who was plotting against him, so she can see the damage that her mother caused, and hopefully get
because they can't kill a little girl, obviously, yes. And they shouldn't keep her in the dungeon. It's because it seems like all these vengeance plots always turn out bad.
A huge thing that this book emphasizes, more so than the other books, even though they did as well, is that
stories matter.
Yeah, and what happens in Fae is cyclical and is based on previous things that happen, and there is like cycles. And so if he murders his younger sister, or if he just locks her up, vengeance. So their best bet is to get her on their side. So they take her to go see this infected part of the forest, and it's really terrible, and there's a lot of... It causes, like, these wraith monsters, and the trees have got the weird, like...
Scabs oozing,
like,
and it's bad. And what happens in this scene is also, like... I don't know, just a little dumb. So what happens is basically... Although I didn't understand... Also, Taryn is just, like... Again, if you've forgotten who this is his uncle, Wendell's uncle. Taryn is just like a little bit too bloodthirsty in some places. Like, it's like nonsensical. And so basically they go into this part of the forest. They see it's really sick. The girl is frightened. The princess girl, his sister, half sister, is frightened. And these creatures, you know, like zombie-esque / wraith, as she said, esque, comes about, and they kind of get attacked. And during this attack, one of the advisors / just high fae people, Terrence just like, I'm curious what will happen if a high fae gets thrown into this sludge. It's because as soon as you touch the sludge mist.
The guy had already been infected, and he was saying, "Oh, I was wondering if we could be infected," and then he killed him.
No. He broke his knees and threw him into the mist. Remember?
I thought he broke his knees because he was already infected, and he was taking the ladies away.
No, I didn't get that. All I got was that he was just like, because Emily's like horrified, and she's like, what the heck? Why would you do that so suddenly? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's just like weird. Regardless.
But the outcome of it is that
Emily gets cut on the head, and then Wendell flies into a dark fury, but
they also do learn that this infection can get high fae.
Yes, and it can change them and so on. And so, anyway, Wendell ends up going into a dark fury, and he gets cut on his side, and his blood actually staves off the infection on the land. It gets rid of it, and from his blood, a whole bunch of ferns and flowers bloom, which I always love the image of. That's really cool. It's very much highlighted in this book that the land loves Wendell, and I love that because it's like, it really does.
Especially given how much
it's shown.
Yes, especially given how much he loves his land, and it's something we got in the first book and the second book,
and at the beginning of this,
and his homesickness to
so it really feels like good. It's a good part of this book. But anyway, he goes off, and you find out that he won't be affected by it, that if anything, he can fight against it a little bit. But it's still not quite good enough. It's because they still need fire to get rid of the blight.
They have to burn it, but also they very quickly learn that the only way to cure the blight, and what they learn, because his blood will keep it at bay, they realize that the only way to actually get rid of it is to kill himself. Like, he has to sacrifice himself for the land, because every time he bleeds on it, he is sacrificing a part of himself. So they very quickly realize this, and Emily's like, absolutely freaking not. There has to be something. So she hops off, and she goes back to her little cottage, and then she goes to Trinity College, which is the college nearby in Ireland. And she's trying to do research. Yeah, I don't know if it's Dublin, but it's wherever in Ireland she is. There's Trinity College, and she goes there to do research, and she's kind of like scouring their dryadology department. And she's going through one day, and then like she happens to look up after being there a couple of days, and Wendell keeps sending her letters like, "Are you coming home yet?
I'm really bored. I miss you. I love you.
Please come home."
Every time we get his letters, I was so happy.
Yep. I also just love because it's always to Dr. Emily Wilde.
I know. Isn't that so cute?
Yes. He's so like, he so understands who she is as a person, but he's like, I'm sure you're having fun with your books, but maybe come home now. Maybe you could come home tomorrow. And then his next letter's like, well, you didn't come home.
So it's so cute. I cannot tell you how much I would love if my husband did this to me. Like,
you did not marry the right man.
I married a howl.
Not even a howl. You married, like, a dwarf. Like from Lord of the Rings, where, like, he loves you, but he's gonna, like, grunt at you sometimes, and he'll give you
pretty rocks.
Yeah, he'll give you pretty rocks, and, like, he'll make sure, like, the food's good,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's what you...
Or a hobbit.
No.
A hobbit. He's more dwarfy, I know.
He's 100% more dwarfy. He has, like...
He doesn't have that jolly.
Yeah, no. He's 100% a
I know.
dwarf.
Sometimes I think about that, and I just think, Juan, you don't watch our videos. But that being said, I just would like to say in this moment, so it can be forever immortalized, if you really loved me, you would write me a letter where it said, I wish you would come home soon. I love... Can I tell you guys how
my God.
I get text messages where it's... one time he sent me... I asked him, what food truck is going to be outside this place that he wants to go to? And he says, salsa, my love. And I'm like... I was like, I literally texted him. I was like, you've never said my love before. He's like, no, that's the name of the truck. Salsa, my love. Oh, well, you could say that more often though. And he put a crying emoji.
That's so that's one thing, because my partner as well is not the, like, he's not like bleeding heart romantic, but he does say like my love, or like,
No,
he has
okay, so the thing
names.
is just like with a dwarf and any dwarf fan fiction I'm sure anybody's ever read, the thing that's rewarding about loving a dwarf is that those little nuggets, those little gemstones, if you will, of affection, and when it comes out, you're like, oh wow, you really love me, and it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. God, you're such a curmudgeon.
I'm like a Katie, where we're both like,
We're stuck.
not that at all. That's not where I was going.
Oh, my bad.
We are so effusive in our love and how we express it and stuff. And every once in a while, my partner will look at me and he'll be like, "You're an incredible human. I love you very much." Because he'll realize I haven't articulated this explicitly in a while, and I need, like, and he'll just look at me and he'll just like tell me.
I have to make eye contact and make sure she understands.
Yeah, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I know. Like, thank you." And also, yes, I am amazing. You're welcome. And then we go back to our natural
habitat,
which is the two of us teasing the crap out of each other.
Not a habitat. Apologies.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is, Wendell is not that. Wendell is we are the Wendells of our relationships.
Yeah, they are the Emily Wilde.
Yes. That's 100%. That's why you could never be with a Wendell. It would be too much.
It would, because I already have been with Wendells.
Yes, and you didn't like it. Like, every time Katie says shit like this, I'm like, there have been plenty of Wendells that have thrown themselves at your feet, but you...
And I was like, ew, affection.
She literally, like, was you. So I'm like, it was only ever this. Like, this was your only option. But anyway, continuing with the plot, he's sending her letters. But anyway, one day she's going through stuff, and she's kind of got an idea of what, like, might work. And then Ferris Rose appears, and he's like, oh, after you send that letter to Ariadne about your problem that you're having in the realm, we got on a train and we came here. And there's this moment where she was like, I didn't know if we were close enough that I could write him letters, and he heard I was in trouble and immediately got his ass on a train and came to help me. And she was like, I need to maybe think about other people a little bit more and how to, like, show appreciation, because she really appreciates it, but she realizes that her idea of what their friendship was different than what his was in this moment. But anyway, Ariadne's there. They help her look through stuff, and they find a tale called King McCann's Bees. And it's basically a tale that kind of mirrors what is happening, where there is this, he's not actually a king, he's just a fairy that took over a mound and calls himself king. But King McCann has this realm that he is part of, and then a usurper comes, but the King McCann, like, curses everything when he's been overthrown, because they think they killed him. The usurper thinks that he killed him, but he didn't. King McCann is actually still alive, and he's gone and hidden somewhere. And they're like, okay, we have to find out where he's hiding. How are we going to figure it out? Because his wife was like, yeah, I don't like him that much anyway. You're kind of handsomer, so I'll help you, new McCann II. But every night their castle is shaking and the grounds are shaking, and so they're like, oh God, we can't sleep like this, and they have terrible dreams. So basically, the old King McCann cursed the land. And so they start asking the servants, his old servants, for questions, and each they speak to two servants who each give them a clue. One is that, like, he had bees in his hair. The other one is that there was a certain bug that he was bringing home or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, but it's a clue.
No, that was her.
That was her. But anyway, mushrooms. He would bring home specific mushrooms that the cook would cook for him. The hairdresser found bees in his hair, and then they're like, oh wow, let's talk to the gardener. And the gardener's like, I don't know much, but there's a boggart over there if you want to talk to the boggart. And the boggart's like, actually, yeah, I do have a clue, but if I give it to you, you have to let me live in the castle. And they were like, okay, that's fine, you can come live in our castle, boggart. And the boggart's like, there's a bridge over there, and he would cross that bridge. So they cross the bridge, they see a patch of the mushrooms, they follow the mushrooms, then they see a bunch of bees, and they go through this thing, and there they find the old King McCann's new castle where he's been living and cursing the land, and then they kill him. But then the bees attack them and kill King McCann II, and then the boggart, who was promised to go into the home, goes in and is like, I'm King McCann III, and then forces the queen to marry him, and she's...
It's pretty funny, honestly.
Yeah. And so they were like, okay, we're going to use this as a story to help us solve this problem, so we need to find... Because at first they were like, how can we cure the blight? How can Wendell cure the blight? And then they realized that's the wrong way. Based on the story, we just need to kill her, and then that will end the blight. And so they go back to Fairy. Wendell's so happy to see her, and they start interviewing different servants. And one lady is like, "Oh, she would bring these snails that she liked to eat," and this other one was like, "Oh, I found these barbs in her hair sometimes." And then they talk to the boggart, and the boggart is like, one time she was injured and she brought some sailcloth, which meant she was on the lake. And so they were like, "Oh, we have to go onto the Silver Lily Lake," and they go onto the lake. And they find, like, the snails, or not the snails yet,
They found the seaweed, or not seaweed, moss with the barbs
in it. And they realize that she had to go in the water. They jump in the water, and then they find a hidden, like, pocket world that was the secret hiding place.
Queen Anne's hideaway, which is, or castle, really. And it was actually a tall tale for the Fae to tell about this. So when Wendell sees it, he's really amazed because it's, something that
it's a myth from him.
Yeah. And basically, Queen Anne was a mortal queen of the Fae, and she, to escape her evil husband, who turned on her, ran away to this place to live out the rest of her days, which was not many because she was already quite old. And so, which is a nice, like, it didn't have to say it, but you probably assume the king was going to kill her because she'd grown old and ugly and, like...
Because she was a human.
Yeah, immortal. So anyway, so that there was a myth about that. So Wendell's like, "Oh, it's true," and they see some snails, and they're like, "Oh, the snails."
Because they can't get there. They see the castle, and they start walking towards it, and it's not getting any closer, and they realize there's an enchantment. But then they see the snails, and the snail Wendell talks to one of them and is like, "Yo, brother, that lady, she has been eating your brethren. Heckin' snackos. If you want revenge, you help us get there." And we learn about the snails in his kingdom are very vengeful. Like, if you step on one of them, they'll remember and they'll come for you. It might take a while, but they always get their revenge. I fucking
love that.
Which is
one of the cute parts of this.
Yeah, because it's a tiny little note we get at the start of the book, and then it comes here, and you're like, "Revenge snails!" And so the snails, like, gather around them
for them.
And it takes them half an hour to walk, like, a very short distance, but the snails are able to cut through the magic that is keeping them, and so they create this path. They get there. They get in. They see the queen. She's laid upon the bed,
but she's already stabbed
herself in the heart. And they're like, "Oh crap! This didn't cure the blight because she killed herself. It is the act of
final vengeance
that is what cures the land." And she's killed herself. And Wendell's like, "Well, guess I gotta go," and he kills himself. And our girl is like, "No."
By the way, guys, we have stepped over a very, very cute scene, very indelicately, might I add. We just bowled through it. Prior to them finding Queen Anne's castle, what had happened...
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. We really did. Oh, my God.
We did. Please. What happened was they had gotten on the boat to explore the lake. It's because that was where their clue was, that she was somewhere on this lake, and that there was something hidden where she was hiding. And so while they were in the boat, we have this beautiful, beautiful scene of basically Wendell saying, "Hey, if I die, I want to make sure you're okay. I don't intend to die, but if I do," which is a very likely a possibility, "I would like you to be safer than you currently are, because we have not gotten married, and so you are not, like, an actual monarch." And he's like, "But you don't need a wedding in my lands. You just need a vow."
Yeah, which is something we heard about before, because he basically just says, "Will you marry me?" And then she extrapolates all of this. Like, he mentions, like, "I've got to be thinking about you," but then she extrapolates most of this, and it's just this really... And she was like, "Yeah, I will." And then she was like, "How do we do it?" And he's like, It's done.
And then it's such a beautiful scene because all of the smaller fae and everything, the land acknowledges her then. And she is a monarch now. And the shoreline just has, like, lights. Yeah. And they're like, it's very pretty.
It's so funny. Chrisem makes the point. Similarly to how the first Elegant In and Out happened, in the second book they get married in a throwaway scene.
Yeah, but I did think it was very pretty. I did like that I do like, actually, the way it happened. I'm okay with it. I think it was very cute. Go ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, so continuing, he kills himself. And then
the tree, presumably under his command or something. I don't know. But anyway, it grabs her and brings her back to the, not the castle,
but onto the lake.
And she's found crying or like looking dead-eyed or something.
Callum and I think Taryn find her. Callum is the human from the second book that is married to Taryn, who helped her in the second book kind of get to the queen and everything. But anyway, and they're like, they take her back. She spends several days like not sure how to handle this.
And the best part of the novel, when Shadow and I was gonna call her Armageddon.
Orga.
No, not Orca.
Orga.
Oh, Augur, I thought was her name.
It's spelled Orga. It might be. I can't remember the pronunciation.
Anyway, the point is the cat and the dog. The cat and the dog lay on the bed in solidarity together peacefully for really the first time, and they won't leave her, and I love that the cat stayed with her while she mourned.
And the cat is also mourning, like its entire world was Wendell, and so she is Auga, I think is how it was pronounced.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but anyway, and like her and the cat pop out, they're mourning, all of this stuff, but then eventually she decides, screw this, I'm gonna solve this.
Well, no. What happens is she's still trying the whole time. She is trying to think of what stories do I know, what can I do.
We forgot an important scene.
Yes, we did. So what had happened? Look. Well, let me backtrack real quick. What had happened is when she met with Ferris last time, the friend that he mentions in the second book that was actually like a warning tale to Emily, and is once again used as a warning tale here by Ferris, is that he had a really, really like best friend that was like a brother to him. However, that best friend, while married too, fell in love with a fairy lady, and when she grew tired of him, she tied him to a tree and he died of exhaustion.
Well, no, at first, she just left him back into the human world, and he was so obsessed with getting back to her.
Yes.
She was like, why are you here, bro? Like, we broke up. And so she tied him by his beard to a tree, and he died of exposure.
Yeah, and we find out that that's actually Emily's
grandfather.
Yeah, grandfather. And, which I thought was a nice little surprise.
Who also journaled. And he gives her her grandfather's last journal, which doesn't include his last days, but it's the last stuff before. So it's while he's still enchanted and while the fairy lady is still enchanted with him. And he was like, you should read this. And she's like, is this you trying to like talk me out of stuff again? And he was like, I mean, kind of, but you also, this is your history, you should know this. Yeah. So she's had this and she's read through it and kind of gotten some stuff out of it, but in her grief and stuff, as she's reading through novels trying to figure out how to solve this problem and save Wendell, she reads the book again, and she realizes as she reads it that she missed some stuff previous, that the fae who was smitten with her grandfather and who her grandfather was smitten with was actually that damp lady we talked about earlier, the blood lady. They call her like the lady of the scarlet cloak. That was her, and there's a piece in there that we don't know yet, but basically she asks the Ihashid guy to take her to the rooms of this lady. She sits there waiting for her, and the lady's like, you figured it out. I'm sure you want to know why I abandoned your grandfather.
And she's like, care less.
She's like, I don't give a shit. He put in his notes that you know a doorway into death, and that you've communed with spirits and stuff like that. And she's like, are you sure? Like, there's this whole moment where she's like, you're sure you don't want to hear about your grandfather?
And she's like, no.
She's like, I don't care. And basically, the lady tells her that in the shadow of a fresh fae corpse is a doorway into this, not death, but into this realm where fae spirits go.
The train station.
Yeah, it's like
or the forest, or purgatory.
It's purgatory, where the spirits go for a while before they fully pass on. And if you catch them while they're there, you can find them. And the Ihashid goes with her, and they go to Wendell, where he's been laid out with his stepmother. They're both there.
And it's really cool, too. It's because Wendell's described as there are roots and stuff and vines growing out of his wounds and such. And some have covered his face like a mask. And we learned that his grandfather or his father turned into a cherry tree that came out of his mouth and that grew from him. And so his skin became, and so she thinks and wonders on how many trees and moss piles and all these things actually are the remains of Fae that have passed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a cool moment. But anyway, so she's there and she manages to see the door, and the Ihashid's like, I'm gonna go. And she's
because
like,
mortals literally can't,
because
cannot go.
She's like, the lady was trying to kill you. If you go in, you will die. So, and he was like, he is one of mine. Because she's like, but that's not how the story goes. I should go. And he's like, he's one of ours. And so he goes in, and she waits, and she waits.
But he doesn't come back, and so she's freaking out. But then all of a sudden, Shadow...
who, can I once again complain that why is a Fae Grimm aging so much?
We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk... He's blind in one eye in this book, and I hate it. I hate that Shadow is not doing well.
In a year! He's a Fae creature. How is this... Anyway, Shadow snuffling around. Shadow finds the door, and Shadow jets into
Love Shadow.
Yeah.
Love Shadow.
He jets in, and he goes in, and she immediately starts crying, bawling her little eyes out.
And a great moment happens. Prior to this moment, she had asked Taryn, hey, how is Wendell's sister doing? And apparently she's over dramatically been thrashing about in the forest, just being like,
throwing herself upon thorns.
My beloved brother, my beloved mother, they are both a past. And so I guess she even, anyway, so she, Emily specifically says, I might feel more sympathy with her or pity or something.
She was less melodramatic.
Yeah, because it seems like she's just doing it for the sake of doing it. And so anyway, the girl appears, and she
grabs Emily, like bear hugs
She's
Emily.
like, oh, you poor thing.
She was like, oh man, little did I know that we could have comforted each other.
And meanwhile, it looks like she smeared mud on her face with her fingers to make herself look as if she'd like
extra dirty. And Emily's like, there's no way you could have fallen in that many thorn bushes unless you were actively trying to
throwing yourself in them yourself.
But there's a point where she explains what has happened, and her name's Delia stops and goes, wait, have you not been calling for Shadow? And Emily's like, what do you mean? And she's like, Shadow, your dog, he's in that realm. You need to call him back. So she starts calling, Shadow, Shadow. And then they start hearing the Shadow's baying howl coming through. And she's like, oh my God. And then Delia's like, where's his favorite snack? Dog seep, I smell. And it's this great moment. And for me, it was one of the funniest moments.
You shook the
I know.
whole
And
thing.
I didn't even touch the desk. It was me shaking the chair.
Yeah.
Which shook the ground.
Which shook the desk. Also, Dragon Slayer does say, isn't Fae time stuff weird? So sudden onset of aging? No, yeah. I mean, look, that's totally fine. It's just, it's kind of weird that a fairy that represents ongoing death dies itself. I mean, I don't know. Look, it's also, I just don't want the dog to die.
But also old age? It's just such a weird thing to have to die
Especially
of.
Considering the Fae seem to live some of them live forever.
Yes, unless somebody was like,
in this world.
But anyway, this is a great moment, and I think this is the moment. Yes. I think
yes. Lindbergh said exactly what we should specify, which is...
This is the one point where if we had seen Emily befriend a very old Graying Grim, it would feel like less of a cheap shot to our feelings to make Shadow be ailing.
That is exactly what Maria and I mean.
Yes, because that is not how it felt. But anyway,
seems like a cheap shot.
Yes. This moment is great because this is one of the moments that actually made me laugh because Emily is so despondent.
And this is what Lindbergh said made her laugh earlier.
I think this is the moment you were talking about,
Lindbergh. It is.
Because she's so, and then the fact that Delia has to snap her out of it and be like,
Emily
the stories, Emily, this,
yeah.
This is what we gotta do. And she's like, what's her, yes, so Lindbergh says, this was the best laugh of the book. The sister's like, you have to call Shadow. Why didn't you do that immediately? How long has he been gone? And she's like, a good hour. And then, so they start, and then she's like, what's his favorite snack? We need something that smells.
So they get smelly meat.
And stuff, and they're calling him, and because of that, Shadow is able to lead the Ihashid, who he is literally gripped by the ankle, drag them out of the death door, and then with them comes some flashing lights that come, and then all of a sudden Wendell
Wendell sits up.
She's so happy to see Shadow. She's like, oh my God, Shadow, you good boy. And then Delia is screaming because Wendell has sat up, and he's like
ripping the stuff off him, and he's like,
the fuck is my coat? And he was like, he specifically, my coat's in tatters. I'm never going to be able to fix it. I can't re-tailor thread, which is a nice Wendell moment.
Yeah, it is.
Of which we have not gotten a lot of between...
we are shaking the heck out of this camera.
We are. So one of the problems is there's a period of this book where we get Wendell's letters, which have Wendellisms through them, but there's a point after the beginning and like the moment on the lake where we actually aren't getting a lot of like classic Wendell interactions.
That's because we, as you might have noticed, a lot of things happen.
A lot of things happen. And so Wendell having this moment of being like, oh my God, my coat, I'm never going to be able to fix it, is a nice little moment. But immediately they also realize that stepmother's spirit came back with them.
And Wendell's heckin' pissed.
Yes.
And so throws her into the void.
Because Emily immediately is like, you can't kill her, because Emily knows, you know, as with the story of King McCann's bees, when they killed King McCann, when they finally actually killed King McCann the first, which ended the curse. They ended up dying. And so in this moment, she's come back to life. And so there's a chance to kind of write the story a little bit. But then he's like, oh, you're okay, Emily, I won't do it. But he's also still really pissed. So he throws her into the veil. And Emily almost immediately, like, so at first she's kind of like just happy, Wendell's alive, everything's good. But then the next day is almost immediately taken over by a sense of dread, because she knows that Wendell is, that by punishing his stepmother, opening himself up for some terrible misfortune, and she doesn't know what it is, but she fears it so much she fucks off. She takes her books and stuff, she goes to the cottage, and she's like, I'm gonna figure this out. And she kind of, Lily and Margaret are there, and she kind of explains what's happening, and she's trying to find a way to avoid
also Ferris and Ariadne come.
No, this isn't.
Yeah, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, because they help them figure it out. Right? Oh, no.
It's Neve and Callum.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and while she's there, she gets there and she turns the stones to the fairy door that leads back to their bedroom. And he's, so that he can't follow her. And she knows he could get there another way, but she also knows that
it's to make a statement.
Yeah.
Don't follow me.
Yeah. And she also knows that even though he could get there some other way, he's not going to, because he knows she doesn't like to be interrupted. And she gets there and realizes that the time, because previously she made fairy time sync with human time.
Wendell did, but Wendell died, that came undone, and so it hadn't been reestablished. So when she came over, a whole month had passed. Timey-wimey,
but
wily
when
stuff.
She gets there, Lilia and Margaret are like, we've been worried. Wendell has sent a bajillion letters, and she just stepped through. It's been like 2 minutes that she's been here. So there's already a ton of letters from Wendell being like, oh, you're coming home. I know you're doing stuff, and you got to study, and I know you're not glad that, and he's trying to get her to come home and by enticing her with like,
oh, the Bogart has wonderful tales and he might go to sleep any day now.
And if he goes to sleep, we won't know. Who knows when you'll get those tales. But he's trying his best. But they go in and they're looking at stuff. And Lily and Margaret kind of find in a footnote a continuation, because there was only one version of King McCann's bees that ended well. But Lilia in a footnote finds the rest of the story, which is, even though King McCann II is able to live past the death of King McCann I, he is so paranoid that they didn't actually, because again, he thought he had killed King McCann, he didn't, and then he does kill King McCann for realsies, but he's so paranoid that he's not actually dead, it ruins his life, and he becomes his own downfall and kind of curses the land himself.
And she's worried Wendell will inhabit the story, as many Fae do.
Yes, and so she's like, we've got to stop this. She's like, I have got to go and release the queen, and they're like, oh, but only a fairy. Oh, also, he sends Neve to come, and what Katie was talking about, Neve and Callum come, and she was like, yeah, he sent me here to help you with your research, which is actually why I'm here. I have no plans on giving him intel and stuff like that. I actually am very fascinated. So Neve kind of helps her, and because there was a point where they were so tied to the story of King McCann's bees. And then Neve was like, listen, there are a ton of stories here that you're discounting, because they're like, how do we solve this? How do we get this? And she was like, you're also missing all of the tales of like mortals who have to go into dangerous fairy realms to rescue someone, to write something. And she was like, so stop getting hyper fixated on this tale and think of the other ones. You're a mortal. There is a realm that someone needs to be rescued from. We know how those stories go. And she's like, fuck, you're right. And they're like, how are we going to get in? And technically she's a queen of fairy, but she's not actually fae, so she cannot open the veil to go in. And they were like, but we do know of another king of fairy that I know.
And so she goes to yes,
is her almost husband, her fiance from the first book, which was the
Ice King
from Useland. So she goes to Poe. So she has to go to a mountain so she can get to Poe's door. You can only access this Poe's door when it's close to winter stuff. So she goes to the top of a mountain where it's snowing. She goes to Poe.
We meet Poe's mom, which is a really
terrible.
I loved this scene. Poe's mom is like a skeleton, and it has long, huge. She can skewer a seal with one finger, and so that's how long her thing. And she like chatters, and she's like
terrifying.
She's protecting his tree because she's scared somebody might come try to harm it because it's so pretty.
It's such a beautiful tree. And it's so funny because Poe comes out and he's like, oh, you're here. And
you've met Mother.
And she's like, oh, yeah, Mother comes and takes care of. And it's so cute. I love Poe. Poe is once again one of the best parts of the book. But Poe lets her know that people leave offerings at the old king's tree that he had been attached to. So she's like, maybe if I camp out there, he'll appear. And he does. And she basically is like, oh,
he's gonna kill her at first because she's still alive, and he's like, I was lied to, and he presumes it was betrayal, and so she's like, actually the Summer King stole me away, and of course he doesn't believe it at first, so she's like, he was in love with my beautiful sister.
So he said he would only love someone of her flesh and blood. So
and then he's still like, there were no others. And she's like, oh.
Because this guy's really like, you're really not that pretty.
Yeah.
But anyway, and she was like, yeah, so he stole me away and he married me and I finally escaped. But to actually overthrow him, I need to rescue his stepmother that he cursed into this place so she can overthrow him. And then I can come back and marry you. And he's like, well, I don't want that last part, but I'll help you, because he thinks letting her go into the veil will kill her. So he opens a door to the veil. Her and Shadow go in.
Shadow becomes his cool
grim
self.
He goes into his grim self. They go in. They find her. There's
on
a bunch
of tower of bones.
Yeah, there's a bunch of chittering things like in the sides, and Shadow keeps growling to keep them away. But they find this tower of bones, and the queen, her hair has been kind of like
she's in
ripped out in
rags,
chunks, and she's thin and tiny. Who knows how long she's been here?
She looks horrid.
But anyway, they rescue her. There are these tiny like things that are trying to
them.
eat them, but they get out. They take her, and she's like, "Oh man, being in there has really showed me that, you know,
the error of my ways.
I'm just so glad to have sun on my
skin." Which she says like 3 times, so it comes across as very fake. And it's very funny.
Yeah, because
on purpose.
They let her. They go back to Poe's little place, and there's a little stream there, a hot spring. So she
Emily's kind to her,
and she's getting bathed, and she's like, I never thought I'd be warm again. And she's like, I just want a little cottage where I can give my wisdom to other people because I've learned the error of my ways, and I want to share this wisdom with others. And
at first it does seem kind of like genuine, and then the more she says it, you're like, oh, okay.
Like this is she's taken on a new role, and she's really committing to the bit. But anyway, they end up going back. Lilia and Margaret are like, oh my god, you brought the lady who
and she changes a painting in their house from whatever painting that they actually liked.
It was like, a personal one for them,
and it into like 2 women like doing it in a bush.
Yeah,
because they're lesbians, and she's like, humans should have more representation or something.
And she's like, it's already improved the room.
And then Lilia Margaret's like, okay.
So they go back into Fairy. They go to Wendell, and he's like,
it's so funny. You have to understand. So Emily is very intent on explaining how she developed her theory, how she came to her conclusion.
And why she went and she did this.
Yes, and so she goes there with the queen. The queen has put herself in what she considers humble attire.
And the queen is also ready to be like, I renounce myself as queen.
Yes, and so they get in front of Wendell, and Wendell could not care less about the queen. He already knows why Emily did it. He doesn't
actually know or understand. He just knows that if she did it, it was for a good reason, and that she thought it was valid.
He's just honestly head over heels the fact that she's back.
Yeah,
and that's all that he cares about.
And he's like, oh my god, you came back. And he's also like, were you unhappy? Are you unhappy here? Because,
and meanwhile, the queen's on the side like, bro, like, and she keeps trying to start up her speech, and he's like, stop, I don't care. Yeah. It's so cute.
It's so funny because he's like, I don't actually care why you freed her. I trust you that if you did it, and also if you want me to let her live free and walk about
just
the
don't
town.
leave again.
Just don't leave again. Like, as long as you're happy. And he keeps questioning if she's happy and all of this stuff. And she's like, no, I absolutely am happy. And so they basically decide they're going to let the queen, live in a specific place that they'll choose, and she'll like have to live there. And Emily's like, you know what could make me happier is if you took me on that tour you promised, so I can make maps and study the realm. And he was like, absolutely, Emily. You got it. And everybody's like, we're really just gonna let this lady so they decide to put spies on her. And then the book kind of jumps ahead to
a nice little epilogue.
A little epilogue, which is they're walking up to Cambridge, and she's getting some stuff. She's returning some books to the library that she's had for too long, and she's also getting some more stuff because they're going on their almost like a royal tour where they're gonna explore the realm and stuff like that. And they've left the queen in a little cottage, and she's been gardening and doing stuff and just keeping to herself.
A very happy ending indeed.
Yeah. And then before they go off on their big thing, they go back to the cottage to have like a night with everyone.
All the humans minus Wendell.
Yes. Well, no, he's there too.
No, I mean minus Wendell, as in Wendell's the only
human.
Yes.
And they go, and he was like, I have a surprise for you. And so Ariadne and Ferris are there. Callum and Neve are there. Lily and Margaret. And eventually he's so excited he can't keep it in what his wedding present to her is. And it's something that he's been working on since before he even asked her to marry him, which is he's trying to make it so Shadow can live longer. Because post coming back from the Vale, Shadow is doing even worse. Like, there's a point where on the way back, she thinks
he's gonna die.
He's gonna die. And he's like extra slow and not doing good. And Wendell's like, yeah, I basically took him to some brownies, and they said that there was a thickness in his blood that happens with old age that they could have prevented, but now that it's happened. And then he was like, and then I went to this lady, this half-boggle, half high fae that lives in this one place, the rhododendron garden, and I asked her, and she gave me a word of power that is
clears the blood.
It clears the blood. It's to help you get over a hangover or being drunk, but he's been using it to help Shadow, and it gives Shadow enough relief that it's going to give them a couple more, like 4 or 5 more good years with Shadow. It will not permanently cure him.
I was hoping.
I also don't get, like, why is the Grimm dying?
It's okay, but besides that, you know what I was kind of hoping for? Not that I really liked the imagery and the concept behind it, but I was kind of hoping he'd end up like a phoenix, where he just like, maybe he like, I kind of was actually hoping that nobody knew what happened to Grimms when they died, and that was going to come up. And then when they die, they go into like graveyard dirt, but then out comes a puppy or something.
Oh,
like I kind of wanted that.
That would have been.
That would have been so cute. I mean, it's the imagery behind it isn't that good, and it's like it didn't really fit. But I kind of wanted that. He's still gonna die. I don't want him to die.
My thing is, like, nothing bad actually happens to any of the characters in any permanent way. Like, nothing is permanent.
I know, but I'm okay with that right now.
I know. And it's not that I want, because listen, there was a point where I thought Shadow was going to die, and I legitimately started crying.
It did feel like, very thematic.
I cannot handle, like, if Shadow had died. But, like, the point is, this book is so allergic to having anything. So the fact that
How come the cat lives forever, but the Grimm dies?
Yeah. But the fact that the book ended saying, so on one hand, I don't like that Shadow has this mortality to him and this like
ending. I don't like it.
I don't like it. But it is the one thing at the end of this book where they're like, eventually we're going to be.
He should have died.
It's not that he should have, but at least the book acknowledges that they can't avoid hardship and heartache forever.
In this book, when you read it and you finish it, you get your cake and you eat it too.
Yeah. And so, but it would have, your version would have been super get your cake and eat it too, because then it would be like, he'll never go.
Yeah. But I like that.
At least, yes. But at least with this, there is, and again, I don't like the plot of the Grimm being old and die. Like, I don't like it at all. Someone else should.
But at least there's a realistic negative note.
There is a promise that heartache will come in a permanent sense. And again, I don't want it to be Shadow. Anyone else. Literally, kill Ferris.
Like, he's gonna die too. So, like, I don't know.
Anyone.
I mean, Emily's gonna die before Wendell.
Like, just anything. Like, why does it have to be the fucking dog.
I don't know.
Who's
Dogs
the
should never
sweetest
die.
good boy on the planet?
Literally the best character besides
Oh my
Maybe Poe.
god. But anyway,
Wendell.
so, yeah, and so they have this, like, nice dinner and everything, and then they're gonna go on this grand adventure and, like,
tour, the
study the
picnic.
tour stuff and explore the land, and she's like, I'd like to actually go to these mountainous regions, and he's like, mountains?
You're gonna bring me to mountains.
And again, this connects back to why does he like sword fights if he can't do hiking mountains, you know? Exertion.
And with that, that's the story.
That's the story.
I did appreciate the succinctness with which you went through that plot, considering my headache.
Yes.
However,
We would listen. I was trying to go fast.
very good job. I think it's our shortest video in a while.
Yeah, we did it.
So yeah, that is Emily Wilde series. Everyone, that's the end of it.
That's it. We did it.
It's all done.
It's done. We're done.
Have a great day. Bye. Do you want a softer ending than that?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say overall, not a terrible book. Not as good as the first book. I think overall I'd stand, as much as there are certain things that, like, I really just don't like about it, and that I think, again, I never wanted them to become a king and queen of fairy.
Nope.
It
actually worked out so much better than I pictured, and I hate it.
See, I just wish it hadn't been a thing. I wish that he had gone off to maybe save his realm.
It feels too much like so many other stories.
And then-
because
and-
it had such a unique identity in the first book, that to have this happen, it feels like a lot of other fairy stories.
Yeah, I think would have worked better is at the end of one of their other adventures, he has to go, and she thinks he's going to be gone for good because he has to go back to Fairy and take over his throne, and that the culmination of the series is him coming back and going, I didn't actually like being king and you weren't there.
I know.
And so I just gave it to my sister.
Yeah, she
And
exists.
She exists. And I'm just gonna stay with you. And if you ever want to go live in Fairy, we can do that. And, like, if you ever want to try that and maybe, like,
We have a passport, my love.
yes, you
we
know?
can go to Fairy safely.
and do stuff like that. And that's, I would have preferred if that had been attached to a different book ending, and that's what we got as the resolution to that, and that it was him.
I would have felt a little better.
Yeah, and it was him, and her knowing that he is going to have to go back to his realm on occasion, and maybe she'll go with him because he misses it.
Well, also that makes sense in the end. She's gonna die someday.
Yep. I mean, it could be like Callum, who's like 200 years old, you know?
Oh, that's true.
Like, he'll keep her around as long as he can.
That's right. Maybe she will live longer.
I mean, she's going to live longer. She's just, as long as she stays in Fairy, you know? One of the things Neve mentions is, because she still kind of looks young, if she goes back to the human world and stays there too long, she'll age. You know?
I mean, that does kind of make sense. It's funny. Lindbergh had said, I think Wendell likes sword fighting because he looks dashing. And then Dragon Slayer says having... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Having not read the books, I'm just imagining the dog-cat dynamic as that of Mogget and the disreputable dog from Oporson. Oh my god. I love them so much. And Lindbergh also says, 7 out of 10 for me. Competent, cohesive, but lacking tension, and thus less gratifying.
Beautiful, concise statement.
That is it. And with that, especially as it is now upon the hour, it just hit 12 o'clock, I think we're good.
Yeah.
It was nice being here with you guys.
Thanks for joining us, and keep yourselves smelling good and looking hot.
Join our Patreon. Like, subscribe. Share
Peace.
the link.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.